a lot of opinions from multiple sources that are not necessarily in line with a faith-based perspective.
As friends, we often chat about many current topics and relationship issues.
Lend your ear and peep into our private conversation.
Welcome to Realistic Conversations,
A platonic perspective with Kay and Ryan.
Hey, what's going on, Kay? Long time no.
I know, it's been a minute. All is well. How's it going?
Life is good. Can't really complain. And
Me
if I did complain, who can help me, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, all is well here too. Just getting ready for the usual, as you usually say, work, like Rihanna.
You sure it's work? You ain't got no company coming up soon?
No, this time I'm going.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's different.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, where we going? Or you don't want to tell?
A couple places, going to the mountains and then going to visit a beautiful island.
Okay.
Bucket
I love
list
the mount.
item.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I see the excitement.
I'm very
Oh
excited.
man, yeah. First of all, I like both the mountains and islands. Love the beach. Love. That's why I need to go back home. I miss the beach.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Hmm
all I can say is I'll bring back some dry sand and ash. That's a hint.
Okay, well you could keep the ash and the dry sand. I want to get the I want to get the wet sand. Keep your dry sand in the jar. Huh?
Okay, you'll think different when you see the pictures.
Nah, it's only gonna make me want to go home even sooner.
Okay.
That's all. Yeah. So I called you because I don't know if you saw it on social media. I want to say a famous couple, but it was a black couple who just got divorced after 2 years of marriage.
I did see that. It was pretty much a shocker. And it was crazy because it was right after a whole bunch of other people who are in the limelight also shared their divorce stories, including NFL player. So a lot is going on in the world of love.
I know sometimes when you see the couple and they're saying how much they are in love, and then 6 months later or whatever, a year later, they get divorced. I always ask, where's the love? Where did the love go? Or was it even love?
Hmm. That's always a good question. It definitely always seems like it's love. But unfortunately, the high of love can distract us on the real issues that are, I think, unnecessary in marriage and relationship. It's always a hard thing because from the outside, we don't know what's going on in the homes and really where people are struggling. And I think even in divorce, people can walk away and still truly love each other, but are struggling to stay in love with each other. But that one, that
So,
was a shocker after 2 years. Yeah.
so my question is, what actually is love? I remember listening to a radio program 2 years back, and there was a pastor who was on. I don't remember his name. This is a while back, and he wrote a book. And the question to the audience was, "What is love?" And majority of the callers who called into the program were women, and every last caller said, "Love is a feeling." And the pastor had to he made the correction. He says love is not a feeling. He says infatuation is a feeling.
Hmm.
Love is a principle.
That is true.
And
Love is a principle. Mm-hmm.
so fast forward, recently I have asked two friends of mine, how do you know when a person loves you? or have you ever experienced love? And both of them looked at me in my face and couldn't even give me an answer. And I thought that was very sad.
So you said a lot there. Going back to the pastor's question about what is love, and people thought love is a feeling.
Yeah.
Love is a principle, but I also think the reason people respond with love is a feeling is because you literally do feel like you're in love. We know that there's a chemical release in the brain, the same chemical release when you get a hit from drugs. Well,
Dopamine.
just any dopamines, right? There is a chemical reaction that goes off and it stays on that high for a little bit. For usually, I think they say 2 years, actually, there is that high. So the feeling that people are talking about, that's probably what it is, versus love is more of an action, in my opinion. So when some of those friends of yours said they don't know if they've ever felt love or been in love or if they know what love is, that's kind of unfortunate because I would hope that they've loved on someone else and so that they would have seen and know what love looks like. Because for me, love shows up in me performing actions, even though that's not my love language, I still definitely pour into others with my actions. And I also know when I'm loved because of reciprocity as well, doing for others.
And you know, the one time we had spoke about baggage, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that sometimes the unresolved issues from past experiences, not necessarily relationships, but it could be from, childhood experiences, sometimes even friendships. And that could creep into your romantic relationship. And the funny thing is, a lot of people, or you can have a couple, and they both have a different idea of what love is,
Okay.
right? And I know recently they were talking about love languages, how people express their love, but then you have to learn what the love language is of the other of your spouse, and sometimes that could be difficult for the person because you have to learn their love language and then perform those acts that where that person receives, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now that takes practice because if that's something that you're not used to doing, that has to take practice. So the thing is, when you have an early divorce or a quick divorce, um, did you even get time to get to know your spouse?
You're going exactly where I'm going because if you're saying that knowing one another, knowing things from your past, the baggage that you might have, learning that you may not exactly know what you're needing from each other, what that person needs from you, how on earth can you say you're going to get there in 2 years? Now, in the couple that you are talking about, I will say that they dated a while before they got married. So collectively, they've probably known each other, I think 4 years in total. So the first 2 years in the dating phase, the getting to know each other phase, those things should start to show up. But like you said, it's starting to show up. Now you're married, and now is the time you put in the work. Now is the time you put in those things into practice. There are still so many people who don't know about Dr. Chapman's 5 love languages. I meet people all the time and I ask, what's your love language? And they don't even know. So there's still a lot of learning going on in this whole love and marriage thing. So like you said, what's really going on that you can't say, okay, we're struggling in these areas, let's work at it. Why is divorce the go-to option? It just seems so hasty, and it seems like a lot of people are just giving up before they even get started now.
Yeah, it seems like it too, right? Because and I always say that marriage is not hard, but
Mm-hmm.
other people disagree with me. But I always say that there's no institution that God created that was meant to be difficult. The issue is the two people under the umbrella of the institution that makes it difficult, right? And we know that sin have to have a lot to play with it, but we have, like you said, we have to work at it, right? A lot of times the blaming game happens, right? And I'm guilty of that. I do a lot of blaming, but I had to realize it was me, not Elena. So I had to change me because it was also where I put expectations on her that I never even communicated.
Ooh, see, that one is really good. I hear that a lot from men.
Yes.
I hear that so much more from my male friends than my female friends. The expectations, and they seem to be unspoken expectations,
yes.
Number one. Number two, I find that all of a sudden these men decide they want to be traditional and fall into these traditional roles. All of a sudden, you didn't even grow up with any example of those traditional roles, but now you want all of these things in the household to look a certain way. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but I do find, just like you're stating, if there is no conversation about it, if there's no dialogue to say, hey, these are the things I'd like, how can we get there together? Then you're creating this environment of resentment. And like you said, we talked the other day about baggage. You're bringing in some things from the past that now you want in this current relationship. Again, maybe not necessarily a bad thing, but how are you going to have expectations all of a sudden?
And don't even discuss it.
Never discuss it.
Yeah. So I was getting frustrated and I went to the Lord and I was like, listen, I think you gave me the wrong wife. Yo, you know what he told me?
You're the wrong one too.
Nope.
You have the wrong expectations.
He said to me, I didn't put you together for you to change her.
Ah.
I put you together for you to love her and let him deal with the changing.
And remember, I had talked to you about my friend who poured into her man and then he changed.
Yeah.
You have a similar experience.
Yep.
So the thing is, people don't wait for the change.
No. And not only don't wait for the change, a lot of people don't want to change.
That's fair.
I heard on a program where a person said one of the reasons why people get divorced is because they don't want to change. And they go from relationship to relationship, not changing.
I don't think that's a bad thing, to be honest. My motto is, if I can't love you as you are, if you never change, then I don't need to be with you. I can't have an expectation that you're going to become this perfect model person, what my friends like to call my unicorn. Perfect model person of a man. If I can't love you the way you are, then why are we doing this? Well, now, there are things I think that are critical for change if you want to do partnership in, right? For example, if you're not good at managing your finances, I would hope that that's something you want to do better on and have a better handle of your money and work together with your partner to make sure that your finances are good. But if you don't, then you just don't need to be with someone who is concerned with managing that as well.
And I do think that change is good, right? Especially when it's changed for the better. So we're not asking the person to just do a 180 like in 6 months. As we all know that marriage is a commitment for a lifetime, supposed to be, right? So when you just work at it piece by piece and step by step, because situations will always come up, right? And I was able to tell the person, listen, a lot of situations that happen in marriage is not necessarily because of the marriage. It's just life.
Okay.
So, right? So they say, for example, your spouse might lose their job, right? I'm talking about everything else that could possibly affect the marriage besides infidelity.
All right, so let's list some of those things. So a job loss. What else?
Loss of a loved one.
Okay.
right? A parent might have to move in,
Okay.
right?
Shifting of the household. Mm-hmm.
Shifting of the household. Let's just say one person got a job offer out of state.
Oh, that's a good one. I have a friend who dealt with that. Often, what I hear also is sexless marriages,
Yeah, I don't know how that's possible.
bad, bad communication, right? Not understanding what the other person is saying, even though you hear the words that are coming out of their mouth, you're translating it completely differently. Um,
Yeah.
Not keeping up appearances. So if the man or the woman used to dress a certain way, carry themselves a certain way, keep themselves up, work out, then after the marriage, they change. Um, Having outside influence.
Yeah, that could be big too,
Mhm.
right? And for marriage, it's supposed to be intimate, a bond that no person on the outside supposed to infiltrate.
Mhm.
All of that outside info, like, husbands going to their friends or family members complaining about their wives, and wives going to their girlfriends and their family members complaining about their husbands. That's a big no-no.
Do you have that experience? Do you find that happens? Because for me, I don't think that happens often. What I do find is that my friends are struggling, and it's not until it's pretty much a wrap, then you hear that there were issues. It's kind of kept under wraps.
Well,
It's
well,
secret.
yeah, it could go both ways, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's all about the individual. Some individuals are very private. Some individuals have a whole facade of what their marriage is. So for them
Mm-hmm.
to tell someone they're struggling, it would be
Mm-hmm.
very painful because of the image they portray.
True, but I think it's more painful to walk around pretending like everything is perfect. And then all of a sudden we hear it's 2 years later and it's over. Where I think if you have your friends involved in when you guys were getting together and your wedding, why not get your praying friends involved in helping you guys navigate through the struggles?
Well, there's a difference between asking your friends to pray for you and giving
Mm-hmm.
some information versus telling everything and getting influenced by bad. Remember,
Mm-hmm.
all of us got baggage. Some
Mm-hmm.
person may give you advice that may totally be wrong advice for you and your spouse.
True.
And the reason why I say a marriage is a bond that's not supposed to be broken by any outside influence, because that's how God intended it to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so this is where the married couple need to seek professional help from an individual who is non-biased. Because, for example, right? Let's say, for example, I go and tell my mother about Elena. Always complaining about Elena. For Thanksgiving, what do you think my mother gonna do?
Exactly. Take sides.
Take sides.
Mm-hmm.
Now all of a sudden she looking at Elena sideways.
Mm-hmm.
Elena's like, "What's wrong with your mother?" "Oh, no, she's chilling."
Yeah.
Yeah, but meanwhile, guess what? Everything that I told her is in the back of her mind about what she's doing to me.
And meanwhile,
Versus,
you forgot already, right? You
yes,
moved on because that's
we,
your
me
wife
and
you're gonna
me
love,
and
but
Elena
the
moved
people in
on.
your space
Yes,
hold on to it.
they hold on to it, right? So now she's feeling alienated because of all the bad vibes she's getting. So
Mm-hmm.
this, so what I'm saying is, I think if there's an issue, and a lot of us have communication problems,
Mm-hmm.
we really need to work on that.
So you're right. And I have a couple of friends who they were having struggles and they did work on it. And it's really interesting in, I think, the dynamics of going to seek help. So I have one friend who they went to seek help, but it was almost at the ninth hour. And I
Mm.
feel like both of them had already checked out of the relationship and they only went to counseling so they could check off the box to say, yes, they went. When
We did
people
it.
say, did you actually go get home? Yeah, we went. It didn't work,
It
right?
didn't
So I
work.
have some friends that happened to. Then I have a couple of friends who they did go to counseling and the counselor was honest about the issues that were specific for one partner. And that person felt like the counselor was taking sides. So they decided that they weren't going to go back because the counselor is taking sides in their mind. Versus, no, these are actually the things that you're doing that are contributing to not having a successful relationship. So they walked away. So even if you can go to the counseling, if you're not truly open to change, like I said, where's the work that is required to have this thing be successful? I also think it's important to go in with this whole divorce is not an option mentality. I personally think that helps.
Yeah, because what Christ told the Pharisees, if not for the hardness of your heart, Moses will not have to grant you divorce, right? And that's basically what it is, because nowadays people divorce for almost anything. And and one of the worst things I've seen, where I've literally seen this dude was married for years with his wife, their daughter died. As soon as the funeral was over, the wife bounced. Because the only thing that kept them together was the child.
That's
right?
sad.
And it's very sad, right? So I do believe you have to put the work in. And the thing is work for the person that you said you love before you got married.
So let's look at this example you just gave of your friend. I'm struggling a little bit about that one because it's sad that this person decides to just walk away. But then I'm thinking about the husband. Are you not seeing signs all along that your partner isn't happy? Is there any bond happening? Is there any physical connection? Is there communication? There had to be signs that this is falling apart. Or was the child ill and the sickness of the child had him distracted? I struggle with people who are completely blindsided. I didn't see this coming. Maybe you didn't think that they would just walk away so quickly, but weren't there signs?
All right. So let's just say, for example, I see a lot of times the coworkers have two kids, daughter in ballet, son in basketball, football, baseball, right? One might work 3 to 11, one might work 7 to 3 or 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You wake up, you get up, you go to work, you come back, you want to get the kids, want to help with the homework, want to take the kids over to the sports events, they come back home, they sleep over and over and over and over.
That's the routine of marriage.
The busyness of not marriage, of a family.
Okay. Because you're right. The marriage itself isn't busy. It's the family dynamics in the unit.
The family dynamics in the unit is busy.
That's so true.
The married couple in the family, in the household, they're not working on their marriage anymore. They take all their focus from them and put it on the children.
Correct. So that's my issue. A lot of people say they grew apart. No, you didn't grow apart. Because for something to grow, you have to nurture it. There was no
not
nurturing.
Really, unless it's a parasite.
What?
Unless it's a parasite.
Well, parasites and bacteria grow without nurturing, but even in that nurturing, it's feeding off, right? It's feeding off of something around it.
Yeah.
So there is nurturing. You may not be nurturing it in a positive way, but nurturing, the environment is set up for it to grow, is my point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're growing apart, and we talked about this the other day too, I struggle with, okay, we've been together for 20 years and we grew apart. And so it's time that we start over. What?
Yeah. Well, for me, that start over part is rough, right? Because now I gotta go and find an individual and learn them all over again, deal with their baggage, deal with their trauma. Nah, I'm not doing that. Let me stay with the one who I am familiar with and the one who I know who loves me.
That's why second marriages, the divorce rate is higher than first marriages. Because people are not thinking, let me work on me and the breakdown that occurred so that I don't repeat it. It's repeated in the second and the third marriage, generally. course, there's no absolutes, but typically, I think it's 70% higher per second.
Yeah. So let's go back to the family dynamics, right? So now,
Mm-hmm.
let's say the kids in sports let's say from the age of 6, 7 and up
Mm-hmm.
to high school, 18 years old. They go away to college. And we know what was evident in COVID.
Yes. So
In
crazy.
COVID. Now people were forced to be home with strangers.
And
People,
realize they
yes,
had nothing in common
nothing in
anymore.
common anymore. Because the everyday life they didn't keep them together, kept them under the same roof.
And also was a distraction to the
Yes.
fact that there was no nurturing in the
Yep.
marriage. None at all.
None at all. So the work I think that people need to understand about marriage is not necessarily the work to get rid of the negative stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but to nurture and to pour your love into the person that you claim you love before you got married.
I agree. I also think it's kind of crazy because with a relationship, the one we're talking about that ended after 2 years of marriage, I think I could kind of see some of the challenges there because maybe there's a reflection and they made the wrong choice. And
Mm-hmm.
the reason they went into marriage was the wrong reason, right? So you could quickly see that. But when someone's together for 7, 8+ years, I'm struggling with how they don't see, okay, we've invested some time. Maybe we have a family we're raising. So let's try to figure this stuff out. Instead, they let all of those things that you listed be contributors to we don't need to do this anymore. And I know a friend right now who's just like, listen, I'm just tired.
Yeah, because if you are working on a marriage by yourself, that
Mm-hmm.
could be tiring and frustrating. But remember what Jesus said, if not for the hardness of your heart. And usually that's what it is. Because imagine your spouse is telling you how you make them feel
Mm-hmm.
and you refuse to change.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the reason it is, you refuse to change.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Well,
painful.
it is. And there are various reasons why that person may be hesitant to change or completely refusing to change. But ultimately, doesn't that mean that we're not putting that other person first, that we're being a little bit selfish with our needs and wants? Because if your spouse is saying, I am asking for this and I'm needing this from you, I'm not saying that you have to give in 100%, but where is the middle ground there to say, okay, I love this person enough to hear what they're asking me to contribute to this relationship?
Um, I love this conversation, right? Because let's look at what marriage really is supposed to be. I serve my wife and my wife served me. That's why it's very, 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 very important for anyone who's thinking about marriage as Christians to allow the Holy Spirit to lead you. One of my prayers was not to find me a wife. I told the Lord, give me the wisdom that I can choose my wife wisely. Right? Because my way of choosing a wife could be totally wrong, right?
God knows we're going to go with our fleshly desires.
Exactly. And even though my fleshly desire played a part,
Of course. Oh yeah. I
right?
mean, he
Exactly.
gave us that too. That's
Yes.
innate. Our
That's
our
innate,
our
right?
what we're attracted to, right? That's
Yes.
innate.
Exactly.
Yeah. So God is good that
So
He's gonna bless us like that. The thing that you said to me was critical, though, is the first statement you said. You said that I'm here to serve my wife and my wife is here to serve you.
yes.
I don't think most people understand the
You don't.
commitment to servitude. So that's why when you started off and you said that your friends were like, they don't think they've ever been loved or know what love is, that means, like I said, they didn't see love in action and they didn't put love in action either, because that's what it is. And most men don't start off with, I'm here to serve my wife. They start off with, my wife is here to serve me and to be virtuous. They love
Well,
talking about
Proverbs
virtuous
13.
woman.
Listen.
You've been all around every block there is. Anyway, let me not go there.
That's another conversation. So for me, I was one of those dudes.
Oh, okay.
But because of my relationship with God, He told me what I need to do. And best believe when I began doing it, my relationship got better. And there are still some challenges because I obviously every day you're growing, you're getting to know. But that's real conversation. So now, because I've changed and she saw the change in me, she's able now to trust me even more. So now when I go to her in a conversation, I'm not coming to attack her. I'm coming to get a better understanding of how this situation is going to play out if we continue this direction. But because she know I have her well-being in my heart and I'm serving her, she has what's the word I'm looking for? Trust. She could actually listen to me and my viewpoint. And yeah, sometimes she might get upset, right? Because initially it hits hard. But then, and I guess in her quiet moment, when she actually think about it, or the Lord, checks her, she'd be like, all right.
And to me, that's like one of the most beautiful parts about marriage, is because you have someone there in your corner that even when it hurts, just like God, we know that that person has our best interest at heart. And that person means nothing but the best for not only you, but also us collectively. You know what I mean? And for you to say that you changed, that's the critical part in this whole relationship game. Goodness gracious, his heart's changed. We want to be stuck in our own ways, what's comfortable, and change is uncomfortable. But when we really say that we're desiring to fully love this other person, you got to look at yourself first.
Yeah, I want to make this point too, right? Just because I asked God for the wisdom to choose a wife and God gave me this wife, it doesn't mean that it was going to be easy.
Okay.
Right? Because I still didn't have the tools.
Yep.
Right? Because I don't have an example to look for. So when I begin to read, the scripture in Ephesians, when it says what? Husbands loves your wife, even
That's
as
correct.
I have loved the church,
that
I gave my life for her. That's the kind of love that God is expecting us to give to our spouses, right? And it's not for my wife to serve me, it's for me to serve her. Because the thing is, the funny thing when it comes from a male perspective, right? From me, I'm not weak. I ain't serving no woman. That was my thought process.
She's supposed to serve me.
Yeah, exactly. But the biggest servant in the world conquered sin. Christ. This dude served his whole life and was a king.
Full sacrifice. Full sacrifice, unconditional love.
Unconditional, right? And it didn't make him weaker. It just exposed everybody else around you.
That's true.
Right? It's true.
But go ahead. I was going to say, to quickly add to that, right? When you were talking about the love part, also, there's a scripture that says we're supposed to love each other like we love ourselves.
Yes.
And back to what you talked about before, if you don't know how to love yourself because of your past pain, your hurt, your trauma, your baggage, you're struggling how to love somebody else. Even some people struggle with the words saying, I love you.
I love you.
I remember when someone told me that, and I felt it was premature. Why are you laughing?
Because I wish I was there.
This is people's feelings we're talking about.
Yeah, I wish I was there to get to see her.
My struggle wasn't saying the words. My struggle was, is this premature? So my response was, thank you. Terrible. I know. Thank God for change. Thank God for growth. It was terrible. And I was really appreciative. But my response definitely should have been, I love you too. Right? Because it doesn't have to be the same level. I was very appreciative.
You say you was appreciative?
Very appreciative.
You think you appreciated the gift?
The gift of the love. I should have responded with I love you. It didn't have to mean the same level, right? What harm is it to say I love you too? Because I did love him. But I was like, this is kind of quick. You love me like that?
We love you a long time. Yo, anyway, maybe.
So we gotta know where we are and be transparent with ourselves and share the love. Yeah. Truly love, like Christ says to love.
You know the funny thing you said before we go, right? Because I gotta go begin to serve. So before we go, I had told Elena one time, while we were dating, I didn't need to be honest with you. She says, what? I was like, I needed to be honest with myself.
Aha, man, that's so good.
And she was like, well, what do you mean? I said, I had to ask myself, can I see myself with you long term, even with all the faults that I see?
And if you never change.
And if you never change.
That's it.
And that's it. Okay, let me go. I gotta put some chicken on the oven.
All right.
Are we gonna talk?
I'm gonna put some salad in the fridge. So
it's always a pleasure talking to you, man.
All right, you too. We gotta pray for our friends and tell them to hold on.
Yes.
We past the 2 years.
All
right. Talk to you later.
Bye. All right, later. Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening to this week's conversation.
If you like what you heard and want to listen to what we chat about next, please look for Realistic Conversation Podcast on all streaming platforms.
And if you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and peep into our next episode by clicking the subscribe button. You'll then be notified of when we post next. See you soon.